In this episode, I'll show you how I renovated this baggage door, and it was a much bigger project than I anticipated. Whoa. Very excited. It cost that much? It broke again. Welcome back to this ongoing series on the renovation of my 1949 Spartan Manor camper trailer. I really hadn't looked too closely at this baggage door until I started working on it. So before then, I kind of imagined this was going to maybe take me 2 days to take it off, put some new hinges on, and reseal it with butyl tape. And boy was I wrong. I feel like I need to unbend this and repair everything inside. So here I am taking everything off the door that I can. That came out. And this little latch is one of the few things that I saved. Then there are just about 40 sheet metal screws to come out, and of course not all of them were cooperative. Whew, last screw. Like everything on here that's been made to be watertight, there was butyl tape on this frame. The sheet metal screws had caused the aluminum to pucker a bit, so here I am flattening them out. Well, I think you can tell the luggage compartment was not original to the 1949 edition Spartan Manor. This has just been cut out of here, and not the cleanest way. Then pop rivets, a sure sign of more modern intervention. The first step with the frame was to remove the old butyl tape and various weather stripping. Mineral spirits really seem to help cut through the old weather stripping. Oh, that makes it much easier. In particular, when I put a piece of wood behind the Scotch-Brite pad. The chain is held on with a big rivet. Let's drill it out. You can see the joints there at the bottom corners aren't very good, and they actually had some butyl tape stuck around here. I'm going to try and seal this up a little bit more thoroughly. And I bent up these little pieces of aluminum to go there. And I put some painter's tape in the corner to help prevent the paint from leaking through. Now I'm going to put this between that little bend of aluminum and the corner, and then over it as well to try and waterproof it. I really do think I'll have to open this up just to repair this kind of stuff. This side isn't as bad, but I haven't listened to this. There you can see all the wood jumbling around in there. I found the best way to start unbending this was using a paint can opener. And with the ruler there, it's helping spread out the force a bit more. After that, I was able to use the small pry bar to bend it out most of the way. This part takes a lot of patience, and just try and bend it up as evenly as you can, not getting one part too far ahead of the other. Cardboard. That's why it's rattling around. Yeah, that wood's not in great shape. I'll take this out then and throw it away.
I have a mold Geiger counter.
I took measurements of the back of the baggage door and sent it off to my local sheet metal fabricator. Ah, the new metal for the luggage door. And they even joined the corners, which was really nice. The last one just had a gap there, so they put that together. Very excited. These are stiffeners for the sides. This one's gonna be a bit sturdier. It's time to figure out the structure inside the door. At the very least, we're gonna put some channels along the perimeter of the box to help reinforce it for where the screws, the hinges go in, and also where the stays for the chain go. And I may or may not put these three in the middle. So let's just focus on these long ones first. You can see we need to cut off, it looks like about 1/8 of an inch. And you can probably guess these pop rivets, I'm gonna drill these out and put some solid rivets instead. Now I just need to transfer the holes for the rivets all the way through the channel. Now let's do the other side. Now we just need to think a little bit about how we're going to put these side pieces in. So I've marked out on this channel with an X the part I need to cut out. If you find yourself having to do something similar, I recommend marking up one end, cutting it, and making it fit well first. Then you can mark exactly where you need to cut the other end. I found that measuring everything beforehand and then making all the cuts at once never really works. There's always something that doesn't line up. After a bunch of filing that's matching up really nicely, So I have decided I want to put rivets through the side to help secure the channel. Learn from the comments is that for a 1/8 inch rivet, you want to use a number 30 drill bit to make the hole. Gonna put in a trusty cleco to help hold this in place. On the topic of clecos, I want to thank everybody who in the comments pointed out that that's how it's actually pronounced. I had been saying cleco. So thank you very much for leaving comments. I found it both encouraging and educational. Now you can see that satisfying line of rivets. I originally thought I was gonna have 3 of these aluminum channel pieces, and then I went down to 2 because the lock is in the middle. But now I'm wondering if I won't have any at all, and I'll just use this rigid insulating foam there instead. Because all these channels create overhangs, I can't fit 1 piece of foam in all at once. So I'm gonna make some little strips to go along 3 sides inside the channel. That was a lot cleaner than I expected. And now the tricky part is gonna be to make this last part fit, because this is 1.5 inches thick and it can only be 1 3/8 of an inch thick. So an 1/8 of an inch less. To shave it down, I did buy this Stanley Sureform pocket plane, which has a kind of rasp-like surface here, kind of like a cheese grater really. And I thought I could just try and plane an 1/8 of an inch off. That's gonna make a lot of dust. So I'm wondering if I can use the table saw. This is a great little table saw, and unfortunately it's really jammed trying to lift it. I don't know if everybody else has this problem. I have to lift up on the motor at the same time as I'm turning the crank. I always have it unplugged when I'm doing this. That's a good start. So with that, I can see how many pieces that I have to cut this into. It'd be like 4 pieces, which might be okay. I think this can be better than trying to sand it down. Here's using the table saw to get 1/8 inch thickness off of these pieces. Okay, we have our piece skimmed down to have that narrower part to fit inside the channel. And I'm gonna glue it in here with this Gorilla heavy duty construction adhesive. It took me a while to find one there in the store that applied to both metal and foam board, because it sounds like maybe some glues have chemicals that can melt the foam board. So I think that's really important to make sure that it's compatible with that. I'm just gonna blast all this stuff off with the wire wheel before I close it back up. Now I'm using this flat welding clamp to help bend the sides out just a little bit more. One thing we should do before we put this door back together is put a 1/32 of an inch piece of aluminum in this gap between the outside of the baggage door and this channel, because that's where there's a fold over where it was riveted together. And so there's a gap that will just compress when we put screws into it. I'd rather not have it do that. I just want to have it be a solid piece of metal there. So now for sure we know this is the bottom. So I'm going to mark it with a B so we don't forget. B. And we want to see how it fits into here. So this is the top because that's where the lock goes. So let's see how we are lining up. We have a little bit of room to spare on the width. And in terms of the height, it just fits in there. Before we start pinching the sides over, I want to put glue inside. Yes, that's working really well to start it. How exciting is that? It looks like we have our baggage door back. In order to put this handle in, we're gonna have to drill a hole through here that goes to the back side. We have our hole. Now we need to drill a hole so we can put screws from that side all the way through and hold the handle in. Now we can see how much thread we have to cut off the screws. Wow, it worked. What's nice about this tool, as you unscrew it, it repairs any damage that might have happened to the thread while cutting it. I want to try and seal this lock with butyl tape just like they did before. So I'm going to tape it off, just cleaning it up with some odorless mineral spirits. Now I'm going to put butyl tape all around the perimeter of this luggage door frame. Before I push it down too hard, I'll make sure that the holes line up. One. Now I'm putting in some stainless steel sheet metal screws. So only one of the holes lines up. I'll have to drill 2 new holes. Have the hinge holes marked out. What? One of the stainless steel screws just broke. What's the chance of that? Wow. It broke again. I guess that is 3 layers of the sheet metal. Drill bit next size up. Wow. This is a very unexpected complication of this part. I wonder if I'd be better off tapping these holes. Boom, again. I think this is gonna be solved another day. You got your ball? I picked up a tap and die set today to try and tap these holes and get some screws in them. In case you're not familiar with the tap and die set, taps are all these, which you use to make threaded holes, and dies are all these, which you can use to essentially make screws. And these are just the handles for them. That's a tap handle, that's a die handle, and that's another type of tap handle. And generally you want to use some kind of cutting oil when you're tapping a hole. The hardest part is just getting it started straight. When you're tapping holes, you want to make sure and rotate both directions regularly so that you can break all the little pieces of metal that you're shaving off on the inside of the hole. You never want to force this because you never want the tap to break off inside the hole. There you can see the holes are tapped. Not thrilled with the particular strength of any one hole, but hopefully with the 4 of them together, that'll be strong enough. So far those 4 are holding. I think the screw heads make it bounce back a little bit, so the handle will be even more important. Now we'll put the little latch in. That holds it nicely. Let's get an idea of how we can put this chain in. It used to be secured up here, and then it would come down somewhere on the door. I go look from the inside. Ah, there's a giant spider right there. Okay. The chain used to be attached right here on the frame of the door, but instead I can put it here inside the shell. While I'm on the inside, I'm just gonna score a light line along the back here so I know that the attachment point for the cable should not go anywhere past that, or else it's gonna get in the way of the door closing. Right there. Okay. That is satisfying. Look at that. Done. And there is the one issue of this gap here. This doesn't close any further. You know, it's hitting this, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna tackle that now or later. After a day of rest, I have decided that I'm going to cut this out. The spider's really hanging in there. This is 3/4 inch angle by 1/8 inch thick. One of the great things about working with aluminum is that it's so soft. I'm just using a regular wood cutting blade here. Nice tight fit. look at that fit. Might be a little tight down here still. As you can see, I'm being very careful with these cuts, and I'm shaving just a little bit off each time to make sure that it fits really well. Looking pretty good. Not quite matching up. I think I should take a hair off of this one. Pretty darn good. That's just dry fitting in right now. And staying in because it's so tight. I got these 2 pieces of flat bar to make spacers underneath the door hinges because I felt the door was sitting just a little too low. Just transferring where the holes go. And center punching. Whenever you're tightening a chuck, do it in all 3 of the locations. Now we have our nice little spacers for the hinges. This is the reveal with the 1/4-inch spacers under the hinges. And it's a little tighter here on the left side. And of course down here where we don't really see, it has a bigger reveal. That's with a 1/4 and an 1/8 on one side. And just a 1/4 on that side. August, come here! Okay, I think this looks the best. A 1/4 inch on this side, and an 1/8 of an inch on this side. And that makes a nice consistent reveal. So obviously the box isn't very square. Now we're gonna figure out where we're gonna place these pieces of angle. And we want the back side of the door to engage with this side of the angle. That's why we cut out the other little tab that was there. And we also want to take into account the fact that we're going to be putting this there as well. So it's some weather stripping that will need to compress a little bit. So we don't want it to be flush right away. We want to have a little gap that this can be in there. That does go down quite a bit. Lined up the back with the pencil line. Yeah, I'll have to cut out a little notch for that. We're in line with the pencil line. That looks really good. These are the little notches I'll need to make for the chain stays. Drilling holes for the rivets and seeing if they fit. So I'm gonna put a couple pieces on just as a test. So now with that little notch, the stay for the chain can get through. Got these little test strips in and trying to see how it all lines up. So to me, that looks pretty darn good. That looks good. I'm gonna drill those holes and mount this first piece. Progress. This is really bowed in right here, so I'm gonna try and bend it out, make it a little straight before we attach the angle. There we go. 2 sides done. All right, now we're gonna try and fit this top piece in. And it should just be a matter of getting it between the other 2 side pieces we put already. I've managed to shave just a little bit off of this top piece, and now I have it up in there. And wowee, is that looking good. Now I'm gonna drill the holes up and get it settled in position. For the bottom piece of angle iron, the hinges are actually in the way of it sitting where it needs to. So here I'm cutting out some notches to fit around them. It's looking pretty good in the corner there. Goes around the hinge nicely. Goes around that one. And good in the corner there. Now we'll measure out where to put the rivets. I would have loved to put solid rivets, but I couldn't reach the back everywhere. So I'm gonna clean out the surfaces where the weather strip is gonna go to make sure it sticks really well. Look at this, it's just peeling right away. So I'm gonna use some super glue to see if I can get it to stay. Once I had it in place and closed it, I saw that it was actually keeping the door out too far, and I didn't like that. So instead, I'm just taking it out, and I'll go without. So wow, this ended up being a lot more work than I expected, but I'm really happy with the results. It's solid, and I think it's gonna last a long time. It ended up costing about $484 and took me about 24 hours to complete. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.